G'day everyone, I'm Pat.
And I'm Mike.
Welcome to English for You. Today we're talking about a particularly unusual restaurant down under.
Okay.
Now when I say down under, that's kind of a phrase that means the country of Australia. Have you ever been to Australia?
No, I have not.
No. Some places that's on your travel list?
Maybe. I have a friend who's now making wine in New Zealand. I thought it might be nice to go and see him. I don't know. I like Australia, love Australian people, but maybe because Australia is a lot like Canada and other places I've been, it might not be at the top of my list. But it would be a really good. Plus, the other thing is, it's really big.
It is.
So I always felt like if I went there, I'd want to go for at least a month or two, maybe even longer. So maybe not on the top of my list, but eventually it would be kind of nice. How about you?
I went for Christmas in Melbourne.
Oh, okay.
So, of course, Christmas, it's the summer in Australia.
Did you have Christmas on the beach?
We went to the beach on Christmas Eve.
Okay.
And then went round to, I've got some distant relatives down there. We went over to their house on Christmas Day, had a big meal near their pool.
Okay.
It was all, it was very nice. Went to a big cricket match on there.
Nice.
We'll talk about Boxing Day at some point as well this month, Mike and I, so I'll mention it again. But yeah, the Boxing Day cricket match is a big thing in Melbourne, so it was a fantastic experience. Would I go back? Sure, yes. I'd explore more of Melbourne. There was great food there. And I'd maybe check out a few other places too. Maybe I wouldn't go to this restaurant though, and there's a good reason for that.
Kangaroo?
Not just that.
Kangaroo.
Let's read through the article and find out more.
Reading. Australia's rude restaurant chain. When people are looking for a restaurant to dine in, most people look for a few things. The average diner wants good food, a nice environment, reasonable prices, rude waiters. Wait! Hold on a second. Rude waiters? Surely no one desires that in a restaurant. Well, in case you've ever wanted a serving of abuse with your hamburger, an Australian chain has you covered. Karen's Diner, which has several restaurants in Australia and the UK, aims to poke fun at Karens. Karen is a recent term that describes a white woman of middle age who makes unreasonable demands. A Karen will get angry if her demands are not met. Karen's Diner restaurants feature waiters who are so rude that they will even throw menus and dishes on tables. Customers are allowed to complain as much as they like, but the restaurants won't care. The idea is all in the name of fun, though, so customers shouldn't take the waiters too seriously.
So the article begins and says, when people are looking for a restaurant to dine in, most people look for a few things.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll list what those things are in just a moment, or we can imagine you can get good food and all of the rest. But first, let's look at the word to dine. Dine is a verb and it means to eat, but it does carry the extra kind of meaning that it's a little fancier. You could say, oh, I'm dining on instant noodles tonight, which is not wrong, but it's not really the best way to use dine. We think about dining out. You can wine and dine someone, which means take them to a fancy restaurant, buy them some nice wine and a good meal. Where shall we dine tonight? Let's dine at the Peacock Lounge. Something that does sound a little fancier than just, going to McDonald's, going to the local noodle store, something like that. Here's an example. We could say, for their second anniversary, Wendy and her boyfriend dined at their favorite Japanese barbecue restaurant.
Okay.
Sounds tasty.
Sounds very nice, and maybe it's a slightly more upscale and also slightly more expensive. But yes, on a special night for a special occasion, it's nice to go out and dine in a fine restaurant. All right, back to the article. It says the average diner, when we're talking about, the things we all look for in restaurants that we want to go to. The average diner wants good food, a nice environment, reasonable prices, rude waiters. Whoa.
Wait.
Whoa, okay, hang on. Good food, sure. Nice environment. You want the place to be nice, nice
clean.
Decorations, clean, maybe some music playing. Reasonable prices. You don't want to be paying crazy prices for a tiny piece of food. But rude waiters? No, you'd want polite waiters, professional waiters. But rude? That seems a little strange and completely not what people would want. In fact, people would usually complain about having a rude waiter if they're eating in a restaurant. So this is a little strange. Let's talk about this word diner. All right, here we're talking about a diner as a person. A diner could be a very casual kind of restaurant, kind of like a cafeteria place, or in America it might be somewhere that just serves, burgers and fries and simple fast food like that. But here we're not talking about a type of business or restaurant, we're talking about a person. If you are eating, especially if you're eating in a restaurant, you are a diner, all right? You are the person dining in the restaurant, eating in the restaurant. You are a diner. For example, diner, yes, could also, as I mentioned, be a kind of restaurant. So yes, we want good food, nice atmosphere, nice environment, reasonable prices, but rude waiters, I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, we'll get back to that in a moment. Yeah. Let's look at the word reasonable first.
Okay.
Reasonable is an adjective, and it means something that is acceptable under these particular circumstances. Yeah. The thing you're prepared to pay or do or accept or whatever.
It's okay.
It's not perfect, maybe it's not ideal, okay. It could be better, but there's nothing wrong with it. So if you mean a reasonable price in a restaurant, you'd pay what you think the food is pretty much worth. This pasta, I would pay 200 NT for it, that's reasonable. I'd pay less happily. Would I pay 250 or 300 for it? No, that doesn't seem reasonable. The pasta is not that good. There's no fancy ingredients in it, and so on. Here's another example. The clothes from this store look great, but the prices aren't reasonable, so I never shop there.
And here we have this word waiter. Now we were talking about rude waiters. That's, as I said, something you don't want at a restaurant, but you do want a waiter, definitely. A waiter or a waitress or a server, we might also use that word. These are people who bring the food from the kitchen to your table. They will help you get all the things you need. They will take your order, bring the food when it's prepared, bring you your bill at the end, and if you need some extra water or you drop a fork, you can ask for the waiter, the waitress, the server, the person who is there not preparing the food, but making sure the diners, the people eating and paying in the restaurant, get all the things they need and get good service as well. Not being rude, usually being polite.
Yes, which is why our article says, wait, hold on a second. Rude waiters?
Rude waiters?
Question mark. Why would we want that?
Exactly. As the article says, surely no one desires that in a restaurant. No one desires rude waiters. In fact, we don't desire that. And we're going to find out about the word desire, but you can probably figure out what it means. Yes, no one desires to be served by a rude waiter at a restaurant. No one wants a rude waiter when they go to a restaurant. To desire is to want something. Maybe to want something quite badly, but really it just means, ooh, yeah, I want that, or ooh, yeah, I'm interested in that. Give it to me. Can I have some? So when you desire something, whether it's a snack when you're hungry, a nap when you're tired, something on your wish list for your birthday or Christmas, just something you really, really want, then you can also use this word to desire that thing. For example, does anyone desire a snack or some coffee before we start working? Could I say, does anyone want a snack or some coffee? I definitely could, because it basically has the same meaning.
So, do we desire rude waiters? Well, maybe somebody somewhere does.
Okay.
The article says, well, in case you've ever wanted a serving of abuse with your hamburger, an Australian chain has you covered. So here we start the sentence with, or we had this phrase, in case in that sentence. In case means in the event that, or in the event of something, or if this situation is true for you. So yes, if you do want to be abused by your waiter, this is the place to go. And you can get a serving of abuse.
I'd like a serving of French fries with my hamburger, but not abuse, thank you. A serving is basically an amount of food for one person. Generally, if we make food, we make lots of food, and then you might separate the food on each plate and give each person a separate amount, enough for them to eat and feel happy and full. That would be one serving, all right? If you make a lot of food and you're really hungry, you might be able to have 2 servings, or you might have enough left over for another serving, another amount of food for one meal the next day. But basically, that amount of food on your plate for you to eat is your serving of that food. So a serving of French fries with my burger, sure. A serving of abuse with my burger, no thank you. I don't want abuse.
Right, because abuse is insults or rude treatment.
No.
Abuse could even mean serious physical or mental pain.
Ow.
But, yeah, it's just something you don't want to happen. Somebody is saying or doing something to upset you. But if you want some abuse, this restaurant has you covered.
Oh my gosh, so they serve you the food and then they call you bad names and make fun of your haircut or something? Very, very interesting. If something is to have somebody or something covered, basically means to provide or to give or to have what that person needs. If your friend comes over and they say, oh, it started to rain, can I borrow an umbrella? And you have an extra umbrella, you would just say, hey, no problem, I got you covered. Or if you change your plans and you say, oh, let's go to a movie instead of going to the park because it's raining, your friend might say, okay, but I don't have enough money for a ticket. You would say, oh, it's okay. I have you covered. I've got you covered. That basically means I'll take care of it. I will provide you what you need. So this restaurant, if you want abuse, this restaurant in Australia has you covered. It has abuse just for you.
Right, and it's not just in Australia. We see
gosh.
Karen's Diner, which has several restaurants in Australia and the UK, aims to poke fun at Karens. Got a few things to look at in that sentence, but let's start with the word aim. So this restaurant aims to do this, aims to give people abuse with their food. Here, aim kind of means the same as to try, to attempt to do something. This is their goal, this is their aim, because you can use it as a noun as well. You might say, I aim to do a particular thing today. I aim to get all my homework done. I aim to go to the bank at lunchtime. And here's another example sentence. This new app aims to make it easier to find online sales. That's its goal, its purpose, so it is aiming to do it. So this restaurant is aiming to poke fun at someone.
Yeah, in this case, we're poking fun at Karens. We're going to get to that idea of the Karen later on. But to poke fun at is basically to make fun of, kind of to tease, kind of to laugh about, not in probably a very cruel kind of way. If your friend does something kind of goofy and silly and embarrassing, you might poke fun at them for something. But, you know, you're not trying to make them cry or hurt their feelings. It's the kind of thing friends and family members might do to each other, or you might poke fun at yourself if you do something that you think is a little silly and ridiculous. You might kind of tease yourself or laugh at yourself for your little human mistakes.
Okay, so here this restaurant is poking fun at Karens. Does that mean everybody with the name Karen? Not quite. The article explains Karen is a recent term that describes a white woman of middle age who makes unreasonable demands. So yeah, if you follow kind of Western media for the last sort of, 5-10 years or so at least, I think, you might hear Karens getting mentioned. And that makes it a fairly recent term. This hasn't always been an insult. Recent means it's from the near past. It's a relative term. Recent could just mean today or in the last few days. But when we're talking about trends, we may be talking in the last sort of 5 to 10 years. Not a long time ago, just somewhere that it's reasonably modern. Here's an example. Alex has been slowly recovering from a recent illness. It's one he had not that long ago. So Karens are people, and one of the things they're known for is making unreasonable, you remember that word from earlier, unreasonable demands.
That's right. A demand, here we're using it as a noun, although it could be a verb. A demand is basically a request when you ask for something and you don't want anyone to say no to you. You're basically saying, I need this thing, you must give it to me. Now that could be quite reasonable, if you're feeling very ill, you might make a demand to sit down somewhere. If you're at home, you might get me some water or something like that, and you don't want anyone to say, no, you can't have anyone because you need this thing. But of course, kids sometimes make demands they don't really need. Buy me that toy or I'm gonna cry or something like that. That would be an unreasonable demand. We can make reasonable demands. If you get in trouble with the law, you can ask to speak to a lawyer. That's a reasonable demand or something. If you say, I'm in trouble with the police, call the president. I want to talk to the president. That's not that's an unreasonable demand. You're asking for something, you're saying, give me something, but there's really no reason to have that.
Yeah, unreasonable, it's something that's not fair, it's not acceptable, and it could be very difficult or impossible to fulfill. But that's apparently what a Karen wants, and if you don't meet that demand, there will be consequences.
That's right. A Karen will get angry if her demands are not met. So imagine the person at the coffee shop, they get a paper straw and they're like, give me a plastic straw. And they're like, sorry, lady, we don't have plastic straw. I want to talk to the manager. I'm calling the police. I have a human right to get a plastic straw. No, you don't. Can you just calm down? It's not that important. They're making unreasonable demands and they're probably kind of making a bit of a public show of being really angry. And of course, other people then feel uncomfortable and upset. So when you meet a demand, you give the person what they are asking for. If it's reasonable, then that's okay. Yes, you have a right to ask for that. We will give it to you. But if it's a little bit kind of crazy, then you might say, no, and please calm down.
But that's not what's going to happen in Karen's Diner. We see in the article, Karen's Diner restaurants feature waiters who are so rude that they will even throw menus and dishes on tables.
Wow.
Like slam. Yeah, have it.
Bad service is good service at this restaurant, basically.
That's right.
Okay.
Let's take a look at today's language in focus. So our language in focus today takes a look at the pattern so plus adjective followed by a that clause. And it's used to say that an object or a situation has so much of a particular quality or characteristic that a remarkable or unusual result happens. We put an adjective after the so, and the that clause shows the result. It was so hot outside that no one wanted to go out. The waiter was so rude that we all got angry and complained to the manager. And speaking of complaining, that's kind of part of the deal at the restaurant too.
That's right. It's not just the waiters who are giving abuse to the customers. It says customers are allowed to complain as much as they like, but the restaurants won't care. Interesting. This kind of sounds like you're acting in a scene and you're pretending to be a Karen so you can complain as much as you like. When you complain, you express yourself and you talk about the things that you are not happy with, the things you're criticizing, the things you think should be better. You want people to listen to you. You're unhappy, you're letting it out, and you're saying exactly what your problem is, what you're unhappy about for everything that's on your mind. For example, Leslie didn't complain when her friend told her that she would be 10 minutes late. She could have said, what do you mean 10 minutes? I had told you what time to be here. What am I going to do? I'm standing here waiting for you. She's like, oh, okay, no problem. She'll be fine. She's not complaining, although she could, I guess.
So maybe this place doesn't sound that much of a nice place to go and have a meal. But as the article says, the idea is all in the name of fun though. So customers shouldn't take the waiters too seriously.
It's a different kind of fun than I'm used to.
Well, we say this is in the name of fun. We use this phrase in the name of to show the aim or purpose of something. It's in the name of fun. We're doing this for fun. We're doing this event in the name of raising money for animals who are on the streets. So that's the purpose of the event, is to get money to take care of those animals. So don't take it too seriously for this restaurant.
If you take something seriously, you're acting or behaving or treating something as if it's very, very important, okay? If it's a question of your health, you should take that seriously. If you say, oh, I've got a weird lump on my neck, that's nothing. No, it could be something, and you should treat it, you should behave towards it, you should act in a way that is serious, because that could be serious. Your health, you should take seriously. If your friends are poking fun at you, maybe don't take that so seriously. Don't treat that as being important, because it's really not. All right, let's get back to our... Oh, that's it for our article. No, I wanted to kind of hear someone's experience at this place. Maybe I'll go online and read a review. But for now, we do have our chat questions, so don't go away.
For You Chat.
So our question is, have you been to any interesting restaurants? Talk about them. And of course, we don't mean interesting like, oh, this place is good, this place is really tasty. We mean something that has a kind of special idea or a theme, maybe, like this Karen restaurant.
I generally avoid these theme restaurants, like the famous modern toilet restaurant. I find usually the theme is what gets people to go, and the food is usually just kind of okay. But actually, Taiwan has an interesting style of restaurant. It's not really a theme restaurant. It's just something the people do outside of the city. You can find the places with the big swimming pools with shrimp. And you can go and catch your shrimp, and then they cook it for you. I think that's kind of interesting. But to be honest, I don't go to them too often. And I try to avoid places like this one, because I think usually it's about the theme and not about the food. So I'd rather have good food than an interesting theme. What about you?
Well, one that I know of but have never been to is in my home city, Nottingham. There is the Medieval Banquet, which is a restaurant in the theme of like Europe of 1,000 years ago, where people are wearing old-time clothes. You're drinking big things of wine out of silver cups,
eating with your hands.
Big leg of chicken or whatever that you're doing, and
I did that in Ireland.
Lords and queens and that kind of thing going on. So there are those. I would like to go to one of them at some point. Maybe I have been and I've just completely forgotten.
Kids like them, so maybe you went when you were little.
Or some, I've been to other restaurants that have, a spooky theme or a pirate theme. I remember going to one of those on a vacation sometime. Just something like that. It's more of a theme restaurant than with any kind of real weird idea in terms of what the servers do. But, it was all pretty interesting.
Go to Tokyo. They have thousands of them there.
Cafes, animal cafes I've been to too. But that's a different subject entirely. And that's all the time we've got. Thanks for watching, everybody. For English for You, I'm Pat.
And I'm Mike.
We'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Vocabulary Review.
Dine. The card said that Tanya was formally invited to dine with the prince next weekend. Reasonable. Da'an is a nice place to live, but the rent prices are more reasonable in Yonghe. Desire. Laura has been desiring pizza all week, so she finally ordered one today. Aim. I aim to finish all of this work in 3 hours. Do you think I can do it? Recent. We really enjoyed our recent vacation to Thailand. We'll go back again next year. Complain. After waiting for more than 30 minutes for her food, Sally complained to the restaurant manager.
智慧小补帖
Serving. abuse. Poke fun at somebody. Demand.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作。活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net